departing Townsville! Finally! Michael, thoughts?
On the way, finally.
It has been a crazy few months for Michael and I, but it is good to be back on board. We are getting out of Townsville finally, hopefully for a while. And yeah, a little bit bittersweet. Super excited to be starting some new adventures and yeah, just getting out of the marina. It is so hot. And yeah, we're just heading out now. Yeah, very rusty, feeling very rusty, and we have a 400-mile run ahead of us. We will fill you in shortly on our plans.
This episode on Sailing Popao.
That explains what kind of sail it's been, right? And we're a little bit touch and go with fuel. Right, Mike's just doing a little bit of a running repair. I don't know, I just feel like whatever we do this trip, we're just doing it wrong. Getting the sail on, last minute things.
Sail on, racing the wind and the rain as usual, and get out of here.
But a beautiful morning, 10 to 15 knots on the nose, a bit squally. Definitely not ideal conditions in terms of the wind direction, but we're going to take it and we're going to punch south, hopefully get to Gladstone, which is going to set us up for the next season.
First reef's green, yeah? Like that second reef red. And it's going to be blowing 13 to 18 knots. Pretty much east southeast.
We have made it to Cape Cleveland. We don't know if we're going to keep going or not. You can hear the engine cavitating. It's absolutely dog shit. Think we're going to turn around?
Well, let's just get to this tide line and then we'll see what it feels like. It looks heaps calmer there.
Yeah.
But that means we're probably fighting the current.
Yeah, probably. What happened?
Jesse was fishing. Forgot to wind the lure in.
Oh. And he even had the audacity to try and blame me. Oh dear. He will try. So we did abandoned mission. We've turned around. We've come back into Cleveland. I'm going to stay here for the day and leave at 1 AM. It was just going to be a really long push, and tomorrow looks better.
Having fun, Jess?
Oh, this has been a stressful 24 hours. So we haven't filmed much because it's basically been me sleeping, Michael sleeping, tossing and turning, and motoring. And it's like just gotten real gnarly in the last 10 minutes. The wind dropped right out and it's swaying from the east to the southeast just as we're about to tack southeast.
We've been waiting 10 hours to finally get around Cape Bowling Green so we could go, oh, we can finally sail comfortably without having to tack. And as we approached the corner, it went southeast.
It just went real fluky and it was whirling around, and I turned around and I was like, I think we're about to get a storm. We don't have a barometer with all this stuff, all the fancy gear, but lizard instincts were tingling, and then next thing we know, this squalls just enveloped us and you can't see like 100 meters, and we have wind from the west-southwest. Neither of us want to go out and put a sail out now because I know that as soon as we set the sails, it's going to bugger off again. I just feel like whatever we do this trip, we're just doing it wrong. Whether it's because we're rusty, I don't know.
Look at that. Where's that from?
It's on the front deck.
Got washed up.
That explains what kind of sail it's been, right?
Yeah.
Upwind sail.
You eat that seaweed?
I don't know. I wouldn't. Like the ocean.
I can't believe they just put the heady out and then it looks in like that.
Knew it was going to happen. Oh. And your hard lifting is pretty good right now.
On fly patrol, we picked up like 50 flies, I reckon.
Oh, at least.
At Cape Cleveland.
They just keep turning up. This is what happens on long passages. Riveting content.
Isn't it?
So we're sailing for the first time this passage, finally. When we're sailing to wind, it's actually a really good feature for sailing like this, where we're like really struggling to get around those eastern edges of the coast. So when you sail to wind, you can put your apparent wind angle in and it will just sail to that. So if the wind shifts to the north briefly, it will sail that and we'll get a bit more east, and then as it turns to the south, it'll go back into 40 degrees. It's a really good way to like maximize the most out of the wind, especially if you're trying to like get around a corner, reach around a corner, which can be a little bit tricky when you're sailing to wind. Oh, naughty. We have a few treats on passages. And this is one of our favourites, tricky sticks.
So in a week's time, we were flying out of Brisbane for a holiday overseas before heading off to opposite ends of the country straight after. We had a week to get Popao south, so she was ready to go for the following season when we got back from work. Getting Popao south meant we could take advantage of the gentler winds from about May onwards, when we would follow those softer winds up the coast, exploring the reef and coral sea islands along the way.
Well, that concludes day one. We've showered, ready for dinner. We're just motoring at the moment, trying to get east as much as possible. Then we'll round Hamilton, or we'll round the Whitsundays tonight, this evening. And then we should be able to sail most of the way down to Gladstone, where we're going to be leaving the boat for a couple of months and running in and out to the reef from there, having a bit of a base. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's settled into a really nice night. I was a little bit anxious this morning. It was looking, well, it was torrential. We had a really huge storm cell following us the whole way down the coast. And now we've got like clear skies, light winds. It's just turned into a really nice night. We've just been out on the decks watching the sunset, which is nice. We've sort of been stuck in the cabin all day with the rain. We should have a pretty full moon as well, so it's going to be a pretty dreamy night motor, I think, touch wood. Michael's just doing a bit of a perimeter check, making sure everything's tied down, ropes are stowed. I think I'm going to go heat up some dinner, have a nice warm meal, settle in for a pretty slow motor overnight. And all these boats off here are waiting to come into Abbott Point to collect their coal. In preparation of nighttime, just coming down here to turn on the radar and the nav lights so people can see us and we can see them. Make sure the head torch is nice and charged and ready to go. And yeah, we run pretty dark at night. We turn all the screens into dark mode, and then that just lets whoever's on watch, you can see, and the other person can get a good sleep. So some of you wonder what we do on passage. So every time's a little bit different. If it's a really nice day, quite often I'll sit up the front and read a book. If it's cold and wet, then obviously you sort of confine to the cabin a bit. And depending on how much solar we're making, because we are using a lot of power when we're underway, quite often I won't edit too much unless it's really sunny. If I'm really anxious, I'll usually watch some trashy kind of TV show, and it just sort of helps me take my mind off it. At the moment I'm actually reading this awesome book. It's called Charles Kingsford Smith and Those Magnificent Men, and it's all about the pioneers of the airplane industry in Australia and in the world. Just wild, such a wild story, and so many similarities between sailing and that feeling of isolation, but like they were truly isolated, and the amount of people that died trying to do what they did was yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, that's what we do on passage. Listen to heaps of podcasts, listen to music. Michael plays the guitar a bit. some maths this morning. We did a lot of motoring yesterday and we're a little bit touch and go with fuel. I'm pretty confident that we'll get there, no issues, but if we did have a blowout with like a sail or anything, it would leave us in a really tough part of the coast to get help. So we are just going to err on the side of caution today. So overnight we motor sailed, came down the outside of Gladstone, and now we're just pulling into Hammer here to grab 60 litres of fuel. It's not much of a detour. This was always a little bit of a backup that we had in mind. We didn't want to go crazy on the fuel because we didn't want to end up with like 100 litres on the boat sitting in the marina. So we haven't filled in on our plans, but we're not going to be on the boat for the next few months. Coming out of Hammer now in that passage, and there's so much current, and we've just had an issue with our engine making a loud knocking sound that it doesn't usually make. And Michael took the cowling off in the marina and the cover to our belts flew off and sank instantly, and now he's decided to also change the prop. Mike's just doing a little bit of a running repair. We think maybe we've finally blown the bushes on our props. We've been carrying like 5 of these props spare.
Definitely, now that you mention it, it seems like this was going slower, this engine, eh?
So pretty cruising through here. Always a shame having to rush through.
I just put the plot in. How many boats there are? We managed to weave through all of them.
What's that, Mackay?
Yeah, Hay Point.
What do they do at Hay Point?
Coal, isn't it?
I don't know.
For sure.
Iron or coal?
Coal. Yeah, we're doing like 7 to 8 knots. The wind's blowing like 11 to 14 and on the nose. And we're sailing along nicely. We were motor sailing before, and then I turned the engines off and we're doing the same speed, so winning.
Yeah, why burn fuel? So with the wind instrument, that is the apparent and that's the true, so that's where it's coming from in real life, and then because we're moving, the wind goes forward, and that's where it's coming from now. So we're sailing in 10 knots of wind, but it feels like 15 on the deck, which is nice because it means that we get this beautiful breeze through the cabin, which is really good because it's been pretty hot here today, as are nor'easters. I just sit out on the deck for like 5 minutes, but yeah, just getting cooked out there. We're just coming into night 2 of our passage. We've both had some pretty good sleeps today and just about to have some dinner now and try and sleep some more. That's basically become like the goal of the last 24 hours, just sleep. We haven't filmed a lot today because we have been motor sailing and it's not very nice to edit the videos when there's a motor droning in the background. We're hoping that we're going to get out of a lot of the tidal flow, so we've gotten right outside like most of the Whitsunday Islands and stuff. We've just been making like a southeast bearing out because we are going to go around
the next point that sticks out, which is Shoalwater Bay area, and the tide just sucks in and out of there. It's the biggest tides on the east coast. So we're giving that a wide berth because we can't time it with tides. If we had like good weather and plenty of days to do this, we would just hop 6 hours on the tide using that, and you have like the best sails. But because we're just punching it south in the short window we've got, we're going wide. We're staying away from that. We've got the tide with us now, but I reckon in maybe a couple of hours we're going to be fighting it. We should probably mention what we're doing too. So we're currently racing back to Gladstone because we booked flights ages ago to go back to Samoa. So we're actually going to Samoa next week. So we've got to get back to Gladdy, get the boat packed up, catch a train, get to Brisbane, fly to Samoa, come back, and then, as if Samoa wasn't good enough, Michael's going to Christmas Island for work.
Christmas Island. So
I'm so jealous.
I'm going to land from Samoa, then get on a plane and go to Dampier, and then take a barge from Dampier all the way to Christmas Island. It'll be like a 6-day passage.
6 days? Yeah. How slow is that thing?
Well, a long way.
Are you getting used to this
800
then?
miles. Yeah, but much bigger.
Much bigger, yeah. You might actually...
worry about it, not my boat.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, yeah, replace the moorings for 5 days and then steam back another 6 days.
So he's off to Christmas Island, and then I'm going back to Cairns like a few days after Michael leaves for another job, which I've always got to be like really vague about what I'm working on, but I'm going to Cairns to work on the Australian version of Jersey Shores. So I'm not in it. I'm never in front of the camera.
That's what you're actually going to do.
Yeah. And then after that, we were picking up the car that we've left in Townsville in storage, driving that back down to Gladstone, and then the next part of our journey begins, which we will fill you in a couple of episodes time, because at this moment we don't know what the hell we're doing.
What's new?
But yeah, anyway, we just thought we'd fill you in on what the rush is to actually getting to Gladstone, and we also will do our best to take you back to Samoa with us. Why are we going back to Samoa? Because this was like YouTube.
Did we make episodes?
No.
No, prior. We lived in Samoa for a year. It was an amazing year, and Jessie was volunteering over there. I was barbecuing and
She's doing nothing.
But yeah, 10-year reunion.
Yeah.
Believe it.
So the same thing that we went to Tonga with, Australian volunteering assignment. Yeah, we went to Samoa and did the same thing for a year. Absolutely loved it. We had like, what, 30 of us? Friends for life sort of thing, and we're super excited to go back and see everyone. We're going to bring you guys along. We're going to film some diving. We'll take you back to our old house. Yeah, it'd be cool. Maybe see the old studios that I used to work in, if they're still there. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a real walk down memory lane, and no doubt like a lot of shock on how much the place has changed. But Samoa is such a beautiful place. The people are amazing. They're so welcoming, and the diving is incredible. And we might even use this time to like do some flashbacks.
Yeah.
Because we have so much footage, so much, and we were diving spots that had never been dived before. Anyway, we'll get to that later, but back to getting to Gladdy. That's our first thing we've got to finish.
Next episode on Sailing Popao.
We were just debating stopping somewhere for a dive. Tray delivery.
A huge thanks to our current patrons for your ongoing support, and to those who have grabbed some merch. And if you've missed it, we've got a new range out now. Be sure to head over to sailingpopao.com.